Welcome to the Toca Backstage Podcast. Join Toca's Executive Director, Chris Wolf, in conversations with the artists and people behind the scenes of the Torrance Cultural Arts Foundation's performances and events.
Hi, this is Chris Wolf with another edition of Toca Backstage. It is my extreme honor to have with us today Cathy Fink Marcy Marxer and Chao Tian, who are part of From China to Appalachia, which is coming to the Armstrong Theater Sunday, September 21st at 2 p.m. Thank you all for taking the time to chat. I appreciate it.
We're delighted, and Marcy and I are excited about returning to the Armstrong Theater. I don't think we've been there since the 80s or the early 90s.
Yes, we were just chatting that you were in part of our Peanut Gallery series for kids as a kids entertainer, but for those that don't know, you do quite a lot more than that. I'm really, ever since this show was brought to my attention, I'm really curious. Where did the thought come from to merge the two genres of music?
Well, I'll give you our band history in a kind of nutshell. Marcy and I have been performing together off and on since 1980 and since 1983 full-time as a duo. That's a long time. And we specialize in old-time country music from the American South, along with lots of different kinds of roots music, early jazz, a lot of singing, and a lot of interesting instrumentation. I have, for the past 20 years, worked at a local performing arts center in North Bethesda, Maryland, called Strathmore. And not only do Marcy and I run the Strathmore Uke Fest, which is part of what's bringing us to the Torrance area for the LA Uke Fest, but I work as an advisor and mentor in a very unique artist in residence program where we take 6 up-and-coming young artists and give them a lot of mentorship and opportunities to further their careers. Well, in 2017, along comes this phenomenal Chinese musician, Chao Tian, playing what she called a yangqin, which we recognize as a hammer dulcimer. But it's completely different than the American hammer dulcimer. And Chao really, her musicianship stood out, but also her hunger to expand her music. She came from a Chinese classical and Western classical background, but didn't know anything about all of this kind of folk music that we play. And Chao, maybe you want to pick up the story from there.
Okay. So that was really a great journey for me to join a Strathmore Artist Residence and work with Cathy Marcy and the other mentors. I never played old-time music before. I never played bluegrass before. I probably heard those kind of music when I was in China from the radio shows, but rarely hear about those. So after I met Cathy Marcy, I think one day Cathy just called me for a jam session at their house, and I never heard the word jam session before, so I thought that was some kind of food party mixed with musicians, you know. So I went to their house with my dulcimer or to a food party to entertain them, maybe. So when I went to there, so they asked me to sit down and to play something. I was like, "Where is the music?" Because I always play the written music. And Cathy said, "We don't have such things here. You just play, or you just follow us." So at that moment, I was like, okay, it just felt like somebody just pushed me into a sea without any safe protections. So I think I survived from that jam session and never came back to my written music world.
It was really the beginning of an adventure for all three of us, because it didn't take very long for Chao to hear how her music could fit into what we were doing, and didn't take us long to realize that at the time, Marcy playing the cello banjo and me playing the 5-string banjo made a beautiful sound together with the Chinese dulcimer. And so we just decided, let's do a few shows. Let's see what happens. And we made our first big concert right here in Ashe County, North Carolina. I thought, if we're going to use the words from China to Appalachia, let's go do this show in Appalachia and see how people feel about it. And the good news is that people just loved it. And part of the reason they loved it is that we have found a lot of music that overlaps between China and Appalachia. We found a series of instrumental tunes that, whether or not they have common roots, they seem to have common roots, and we can layer Chinese music and Appalachian music over each other and trade back and forth. And then I think part of the process too is that we're all learning from each other all the time. And it's been a beautiful challenge for me to learn Chinese tunes on the 5-string banjo. Chao has immersed herself into a lot of Appalachian music, and Marcy is kind of like, I think of Marcy as our secret ingredient in that she plays the cello banjo, she plays the mandolin, she plays the guitar, she plays the ukulele, and it's sort of like the glue that puts it all together. And the centerpiece is that we have a great time.
Well, also with music, I've never thought genre. We didn't think when we were sitting down, let's do a new genre of combining Chinese with Appalachian music. Anytime I've been drawn to a genre myself, whether it's bluegrass or old time or jazz or folk, it's really it's really because of the people. So the relationship with people comes first, and the music grows out of that. And so playing with Chao, we just hit it off as people right away. And it just turns out that what we're doing hasn't been done before in this way.
And it's resonating.
It could be done by other people. Maybe it'll develop into some kind of a genre. But it's resonating in the hearts of Americans, of Appalachians, and Chinese people. And it's the person-to-person connection that really makes it all work.
And, when we say it hasn't been done before, we're well aware of the work that the Silk Road Project is doing. Rhiannon Giddens is a good friend of ours and a beautiful banjo player. But what they're doing is on an extremely large scale. And Appalachian music is a tiny piece of it. They're exploring a lot of other things, which we're about to do. But it's really, at this point for us, it's about the fun of exploration and about the communication part.
And Chao has a beautiful way of explaining it. I'll leave it to Chao, the salad and smoothie. I know this will be edited out for me, but I love the way you explain it.
Yes, I mentioned my ideas. That happened actually one day when I was driving on the way home. So I was thinking about our fusion. I was like, what is a real fusion thing? This question when I was driving back to home one day. So I thought, usually people thought a fusion it's like we put a lot of different things into a bowl and we mix it just like a salad. It's a salad. You can clearly see what elements you put into one bowl, but what we are doing is kind of a smoothie kind of mix up. We put different things into one container and smash it into small pieces until some biochemical thing happened. So at final you couldn't tell which is which. So it became a new thing. It's an innovative process, and but the most important thing is we are creative things together. We are doing something beautifully into a new form, but it works well.
Now, I'm curious that you had mentioned that the Chinese instrument was just like the dulcimer hammer, or the hammered dulcimer. Is there a Chinese instrument that's similar to the banjo?
Cathy?
Well, there are instruments that use some kind of a gourd or bowl with a skin stretch over it. There are drum-like instruments that have strings on them, but they don't really work the same way as the banjo. And even though Chao's hammer dulcimer looks in by eye to be a lot like an American hammer dulcimer, it's tuned completely differently and therefore has a completely different sound as well.
Because I'm curious, when you were putting this together, did you just hear instinctively that these instruments would work together? I mean, it's funny because I know the sounds of each of them, and I can hear it. But what made you think, oh, this is going to be great?
One thing that happened right away was we would play an Appalachian tune, and Chao would think of an ancient Chinese tune that had similarities. But now we don't know if that has been passed down from human to human, or if somehow through the cosmos it just meshed. But there are some modal tunes that we call mountain modal tunes, and they fit very well with some of the Chinese traditional tunes that Chao plays, and that's how we started. But then we started to explore more and more, go a little more wild, a little more out of the box, and still we found ways that they mesh.
A lot of our musical arrangements come out of what I'm going to call goofing off together in the kitchen. You know, that's what a rehearsal looks like. We all bring some music to the table. We sit there, let's try this song. I'll listen to what's happening here. This is so cool. And then we mesh with it. And sometimes we do that with the same piece a couple of times before we get someplace that we like it. Sometimes we bring a piece in and say, let's mess with this one and see what happens. And we go, that's not really a fit. Let's move on, you know. And I think that there's an openness to all three of us that we're willing to try anything and let's see what happens. And then just by virtue of sitting there and trying it and seeing what works and doesn't, we kind of piece something together from that. And it is never the same twice. There's a lot of improvisation, so we'll end up with the structure of a piece, but within that structure, we all have a lot of freedom to do different things with it. And that's part of what keeps it exciting to us.
Yeah, I've often said that it's for a touring musician, it's got to be tough to just go out and do the same songs over and over and over again. But like you said, if with something like this, you have a lot of improvisation going on that kind of keeps it fresh and lively for you guys, right?
And from time to time, that improvisation is like, oh, this is the first time we're taking this song on stage. Sometimes we'll be backstage and I'll say to Chao, here's a new piece I've been thinking about. What do you think? And she goes, oh, I like it. I said, well, how do you feel about doing it tonight? And we'll put ourselves on the edge of the cliff and have a good time. And I think the audience feels the edge of that cliff in a good way. And we also involve the audience. I mean, that's part of the background that Marcy and I have as folk singers is we want to go beyond sit and listen. We want to bring you inside. So there might be a call and response song. There might be a song where we teach a line of Chinese for everybody to sing on. There might be some other part where they can participate with us. And I think that's part of the fun. And it's also part of what Chao's learned from us is that whole part of making the audience feel like we're all here together. We're not on stage with you behind a wall. We're here together building a community.
And also, you mentioned touring musicians often do the same show, and there's a comfort level to that, and you know what is going to get the audience rolling and all. But if I look at the past summer, between the gigs that Cathy and I have done and the gigs that Chao has done, there's been no two the same. Like we can do 20 gigs in a row and every one is a totally different gig. You mentioned kids. We love to do kids gigs. But there are folk festivals, there are concerts, there's our music with Chao, there's old time music, there's a Cathy Marcy duo. Chao plays in a duo with Tom Teasley, and she also plays in some wonderful other bands. But it really keeps us moving and thinking.
And it helps us bring more to the table when we come together as a trio.
Well, it sounds like no, it sounds like it's going to be an afternoon of just having a good time and listening to good music. I'm curious, and Chao, I'll start with you. What is the one thing that you would like people to walk away uh, after the concert feeling, or what do you hope to people walk away with from the concert?
Um, I I really like communication. I mean, not only musically, but also linguistically in this duel. So I think communication can heal things, can heal problem if you listen more. I really want people to feel about how we communicate with each other. All is based on respect, listening, and a response to each other appropriately, not just randomly talk musically or linguistically. Just like what we do between repertoires and repertoires, we had those small talking with audience, those interaction moment. That's my favorite moment. I came from a classic world. I mean, before I only play music on the stage, I barely talk. Now I became talkative. Under Cathy and Marcy's mentorship, I had to talk. And I enjoy those talking moments. Sometimes I feel like I talk too much. So Cathy gave me the eyes. I was like, it's enough. We don't have time. So but I really want people to understand the stories behind the rehearsals, behind the tunes, why we bring those Chinese tunes and put the American accents into it, why we bring these American tunes and put my Chinese accent into it. And it's acceptable. It's not judgeable. I mean, we're not here judging this. Do you play a real old time? Are you a real bluegrass musician? No, we're not judging. We're not here to create together. So that's what I really want the audience to feel from our concerts.
Well, the other thing Chow didn't say is that we have encouraged her strongly to sing. And she's never done that before. And she's a
She's great.
beautiful singer. And she's also encouraged us to learn some of her songs in Chinese. And we do our very best. But that's a fun thing. It's all of us. We come with our strengths, and then we also come to push the envelope for each other.
If I were to say what I'd really like people to walk away with from this show and this gathering, because we don't really think of it as a show, the audience is involved, but I would like people already know that people are people, we are not our governments. And there is a clear separation. We're human beings. We're artists. We're friends. We're playing music together. I would like people to just reinforce what they already know, and is that we are relating human to human, and just walk out humming some tunes and feeling uplifted and ready to go on.
I would agree with that. And I think we often close our show with a song that I wrote during the pandemic called Hold Each Other Up. And I think that's what people see during the show. That's what we're doing with each other. We're trying to involve them in that. And if they leave uplifted and having learned some stuff that they might not have known and feel empowered to help hold each other up, then we've done our jobs.
Very well said. And I harken back to just recently, my wife and I went to the Hollywood Bowl, and we were sitting there eating our dinner and watching the crowd come in. And it was amazing. There were people of all ages, sizes, ethnic groups, young, old. It didn't matter. They were all there just to experience the music. And
I want to say for this show, it's an all ages show. People should feel free to bring their whole families and enjoy this as a family. That's one of the things that we really, really love. And of course, as you mentioned earlier, Marcy and I have been involved in kids' music for many years. Chao is doing a lot of that with us. We have a few residencies centered around that. And a child is never too young to experience music that is going to be a little bit different and open their minds.
Amen to that. So what's the next? I mean, do you see you guys as doing bringing another culture into this? Is this like a starting point for a project?
Well, it's interesting that you ask because there's a couple of different things. One is that we are planning and working on a children's and family album together and expanding that show. And we are also working on a project that doesn't have quite enough shape yet. And I am tentatively calling it the Shanghai Suite. And it is specifically about the scenario in World War II where 20,000 Jewish refugees landed in China for anywhere from 3 to 6 years. And it's a fascinating topic, but it opens up for us a lot of themes that we're seeing right now in the world, even though we're talking about something 80, 90 years ago. And then number two, it opens up for us Chinese music, American music, Yiddish music, klezmer music, things that are, I feel like, related to each of us personally. And how can we bring that together, and exactly what story are we going to tell is the research that we're doing right now. But I'm very excited about it. So we're at the beginning of what we're all going to do.
Sounds like an amazing project. Now that brings me to another question. Chao, would you see yourself going into, say, klezmer music or trying other genres of music, other types of music?
Yeah, definitely. I actually played klezmer music before. When I was at the Strathmore Music Center, my mentor, I mean, Cathy was my advisor, also my mentor. But my mentor was Thes Kaibo, amazing klezmer musician based in DMV area. So I tried some klezmer style with him. I really enjoy it. Those unusual scales on dulcimer and play those chromatic things. It's so exciting. Yeah.
So we're looking forward to doing that as a trio. And we may have some special guests. We'll see how that all pans out. It's a big topic, and we're in big research now.
Yeah, klezmer gives also the hammer dulcimer and the mandolin an ability to interact in a different way than we have used it. So we're just stretching the boundaries.
It sounds amazing. It sounds like you guys are doing amazing work, and I can't wait to see what comes next. I mean, it sounds like this is just the beginning of a wonderful relationship.
We're in there for the long run, and
Awesome.
it's a happy collaboration. You know, some bands get together and they're like a year or two, and they're like, okay, that was enough. I feel like we've just scratched the surface of where we're all going and what we're doing together.
That's amazing. Well, again, it's from China to Appalachia. It's Sunday, September 21st at 2 p.m. at the Armstrong Theater. Thank you, ladies, again for taking the time. I certainly do appreciate it.
We
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. We can't wait to see you there.
Thank you.